And that's why it was such a shock for me back there in the police custody. Interestingly, the interpreter that we had during these 4 days in police custody also emigrated from the Soviet Union. She was translating English to French and back. And after being present there for 2 days, she said during a break with all the policemen and clerks and everybody present there, and she said, "I left the Soviet Union hoping I would be in a country with freedoms, and it seems now that the Soviet Union has caught up with me." And so I was very surprised to hear her say that, because for me, France is not there yet. France is still the country that respects human rights and freedoms. However, I later understood why she was so sensitive to this, because she actually experienced what life is like in an environment where you don't have freedom of speech and you don't have a free market economy. And that's why every perceived change in this direction where freedoms are less respected is making them very, very concerned, people from the Soviet Union. And I myself, I remember my life. I was a small kid in the Soviet Union, but I remember having only 3 TV channels, and all these 3 TV channels show the same TV program about the Communist Party. And I remember having 2 kinds of ice cream in the shops across the city and across the country, and no more. And then when I was brought to Italy as a 5-year-old kid, and I could see, okay, actually I could have 100 TV channels, and some of them even show Disney cartoons and Japanese anime. That's great. I can go to a shop downstairs and they have 200 different kinds of ice cream. That's much better than I experienced in the Soviet Union. And I thought maybe these things, afterwards I realized that these systems called the free market economy and respect to freedom of speech and basic human rights, they're actually very good concepts because they make your life abundant. But the problem is, I remember this life in the absence of these things. Other people from the Soviet Union, probably from Cuba, from other countries like that, experienced that. But people who were born and grew up here, for example, in France, have not necessarily had this experience. They take freedoms for granted. They think things are going to be fine because we're a free country and what can possibly go wrong? Unfortunately, the history knows many examples when free societies gradually degraded into societies without freedoms. And one good example was last month with this anti-encryption law I told you before about. Because people were completely ignorant here in France. The public was completely ignorant.
So no encryption means no privacy.
Yes.
Correct.
It means everybody's vulnerable. Like everybody's messages can leak, it's mind-boggling. And of course, every time something like this is proposed, very logically sounding justifications are used.
To protect the children.
To protect the children, to fight crime, to...
Neither of which they bother doing, by the way. They don't care about children, and they don't stop crime.